A Hall of Fame is designed to recognise the very best in a particular field. Whether it's baseball, American football, or professional wrestling, being inducted into the Hall of Fame should be the highest possible accolade. When it comes to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, however, there are those that are not so sure. Whether it's the Hall's rather broad description of rock and roll, the questionable inductions, or in this case, the shocking snubs and oversights, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is seen by many as anything but the authority on the genre. With the 2019 induction ceremony taking place this month, we take a look at 10 big name artists and bands that deserve to join the likes of Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan and David Bowie in the Hall of Fame. I'm Ash Robertson from Manthoughts, and this is 10 huge names missing from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Number 10, Oasis. While we must cut the Hall some slack on this one, as they've only just become eligible for nomination, the 2020 Hall of Fame must include Oasis. For British fans especially, it's an absolute no-brainer, with albums such as What's the Story, Morning Glory, Definitely Maybe, and Be Here Now all firmly ingrained in British popular culture. Oasis and the Gallagher brothers not only led the Britpop movement, but saw commercial success across the globe, especially in the US. Their strong body of work has created an incredible legacy, received critical acclaim the world over, and has influenced countless bands from the Arctic Monkeys through to the Killers and KASABIAN. For all this and more, Oasis firmly deserves its place in the Hall of Fame. Whether it would be enough to encourage a reunion is still highly doubtful. Number 9, Bryan Adams. When it comes to Canadian singer-songwriter Bryan Adams, you'd be forgiven for thinking he was already in the Hall of Fame. Whether it's for his breakout 1983 record Cuts Like a Knife, or his 1984 album Reckless, which generated the global hits Summer of '69 and Run to You. Sure, he may not have hit quite the same heights in the 90s or the decades after, but Adams still managed to achieve number one hits with a trilogy of high-profile movie soundtracks. Bryan Adams is still going strong today, releasing new material and playing to sold-out arenas across the globe. If his music wasn't enough to earn him a place in the Hall, or his countless awards and accolades, maybe the Hall should look at the long list of big names that have collaborated with him, such as Tina Turner, Sting and Rod Stewart, and most recently Ed Sheeran on his latest single. Number 8, Warren Zevon. When Bruce Springsteen himself calls you one of the great American songwriters, you would think that would be enough to confirm Warren Zevon's place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The injustice of his omission is almost as shameful as only being known to some for his enduring hit Werewolves of London. In fact, Zevon was the master of deeply satirical and incredibly witty songwriting, with tracks such as Desperados Under the Eaves, Accidentally Like a Martyr, and Poor Poor Pitiful Me generating loyal followings and inspiring countless musicians. It's not just Springsteen that saw the talent of Zevon, with Stevie Nicks, a 2019 inductee, Don Henley, Bonnie Raitt and Linda Ronstadt all contributing to his remarkable self-titled major label debut record. What's more, the record, along with its outstanding follow-up Excitable Boy, were produced by Jackson Browne. Even facing terminal cancer, Warren Zevon was still hitting the studio and still laughing in the face of death. It's undoubtedly time to right this monumental wrong and cement Warren's legacy as one of the standout pioneers of the 70s singer-songwriter movement. Number 7, The Section. Danny Kortchmar, Lee Sklar, Craig Dougherty and Russ Kunkel. Whilst you may not recognise The Section by name, if you've listened to albums by Carole King, James Taylor and Jackson Browne to name just a few, you would have heard the talents of The Section. Without question, their contribution is always overlooked but cannot be underestimated, whether it's helping shape King's record-breaking album Tapestry or adding depth to James Taylor's hit record Sweet Baby James. They are far more than just your average session musicians and are equally as strong as individuals as they are as a foursome. One or more of them can be heard on each of the era's defining tracks, whether it's Fire and Rain, It's Too Late or Running on Empty. Their influence would continue past the California singer-songwriter movement, with appearances on albums by Phil Collins, Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel, just to name a few. If it wasn't for their attitude and their sensitive approach to really understanding the emotions of a song, they wouldn't be putting musicians' names on the record liner notes. Number 6, Boston. If you were to look at any classic rock compilation, you would undoubtedly find More Than a Feeling by Boston. This arena rock anthem was not at the culmination of a storied career or a one-hit wonder, it was the opening song on Boston's 1976 self-titled debut. It set the theme for what is unquestionably one of the strongest debut albums of all time, generating fantastic songs such as Peace of Mind, Hitch a Ride and Smokin'. It's a record that expertly demonstrates Tom Scholz as a talented multi-instrumentalist and skilled producer. Whilst they may not have hit the same heights with their follow-up efforts and were constantly bogged down by outside managerial disputes, they still did produce some notable songs. Favourites include Don't Look Back from their second album of the same name, and Amanda from Third Stage. Even their 2013 release Life, Love and Hope, which was only their sixth album, featured the single Heaven on Earth, which was quintessential Boston. But ultimately, it is that debut album which over 40 years on is still creating new fans, and is one of many reasons why Boston should be in the Hall. Number 5, Carole King. Quite simply, as one of the most prolific and successful songwriters and the artist behind the best-selling once-in-a-generation album Tapestry, Carole King's place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is undeniable. With songwriting partner and former husband Jerry Goffin, King has written over 100 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, with 61 featured in the UK music charts. These include The Locomotion, Take Good Care of My Baby, Will You Love Me Tomorrow, and the Aretha Franklin anthem Natural Woman. In front of a microphone and the piano, King had the same success. Not only did her second album Tapestry top the US album chart for 15 weeks, it stayed in the charts for over 6 years. It claimed the Grammy for Album of the Year, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, Record of the Year with It's Too Late, and Song of the Year with You've Got a Friend. 4 decades on and it's still held in such high regard, as evidenced by King's full performance of the album to over 60,000 people in Hyde Park in 2016. Number 4, Meat Loaf. While some might say that he wouldn't have hit the same heights without his songwriting partner Jim Steinman, it's also fair to say that Bat Out of Hell would not have been the mega hit that it was without Meat Loaf. The first Bat Out of Hell album really broke the mould and took rock opera into the mainstream, with a title track and hits such as 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, and You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth. Sure, much of Meat Loaf's success is contributed to Steinman, who quite rightly deserves to add a rock and roll induction to his place in the Songwriting Hall of Fame. However, there have been many a singer who has blazed the trail without writing their own material, and has still secured an induction into the Hall. As a performer that was quite willing to leave absolutely everything on the stage, Meat Loaf could never be accused of going through the motions. While some might struggle to see past the Steinman connection, I'm sure the majority of fellow artists and fans would celebrate if both Meat Loaf and Steinman finally got the inductions they deserve. Number 3, Iron Maiden. One of the biggest criticisms against the Hall is the supposed favouritism of the Hall's panel of judges. It's the reason why many have said huge metal names like Iron Maiden have not got the recognition they fully deserve. Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson even said himself that the Hall is run by a bunch of sanctimonious Americans who wouldn't know rock and roll if it hit them in the face. It's hard to argue with Iron Maiden's credentials, with reports in 2017 suggesting the British band has sold over 100 million records worldwide. That's not just impressive for a metal group, but impressive for a band that's never really broken into the mainstream, nor received much in the way of TV or radio support. Performing well over 2,000 live shows to sold-out arenas across the world, there's no doubt Iron Maiden's loyal fanbase would vote them in a heartbeat. But their lack of mainstream success could mean that the Hall of Fame induction could still evade them, especially with Bruce's stinging remarks. Number 2, Peter Frampton. It's no exaggeration to say that Frampton Comes Alive, the 1976 live double album from Peter Frampton, blew up into a monumental juggernaut, practically out of nowhere. Not only did it spend most of 76 in the Billboard Top 10, it was a number 1 for a total of 10 weeks, and was certified platinum 8 times over. It's not hard to see why people joke that every household in America had a copy. Whilst the meteoric rise of Frampton Comes Alive sent Frampton into superstardom, this superstardom ultimately came as a pin-up pop star, rather than a bona fide rock and roller, a factor which could possibly point to his omission from the Hall of Fame. While Frampton didn't reach the same heights of Humble Pie and Frampton Comes Alive afterwards, there's no doubt he plays a key role in rock and roll, and is renowned among fellow rockers and industry figures as an incredible musician, but also a humble, hard-working guy. With the announcement of Frampton's retirement and farewell tour thanks to a degenerative muscular disease, now could be a fitting time for Peter Frampton to come alive in the Hall of Fame. And number 1, Phil Collins. Whilst he may feature in the Hall through his band Genesis, it seems almost absurd that someone so successful, so prolific, and so high profile as Phil Collins is not in the Hall of Fame. Collins is just one of 3 artists to have sold over 100 million albums worldwide, as both a solo artist and as part of a band. The other 2 artists are Michael Jackson and Sir Paul McCartney, who are both already double inductees into the Hall of Fame. As a solo artist, Phil Collins has created an enduring body of work, with hits such as Against All Odds, Sussudio, In the Air Tonight and Easy Lover all climbing up the charts across the world. With Peter Gabriel, the Genesis frontman that Phil Collins replaced, already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame based on his solo credentials, it makes no sense that Collins shouldn't be too. No disrespect to Gabriel, but with diamond and platinum certified albums, Phil Collins has had the more successful and influential solo career, and should unquestionably be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that's our list. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and tell us down below who you think deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Until next time, I'm Ash Robertson, and this is Man Thoughts.